Welcome back to a brand new video. In this video, I'm going to be answering some of the juiciest questions I've got on Instagram regarding entrepreneurship, my social media marketing agency, where my ecom brand is at, my experience with drugs, my next year goals, and a wide range of some very uncomfortable topics. So without further ado, let's go right into it. Carlitos asks, how to be sure to get results for an ecom client, how to choose clients to be sure to get results for. So essentially, there's a few things that you want to keep in mind, right? And I talk about this extensively on my mentorship, but when it comes to being an ecom agency, and when it comes to offering services for ecom businesses, it is honestly mind-boggling to me that a lot of agencies just look at ecom growth from a Facebook ads lens or a paid ads lens, right? Even if that is your main service, you're gonna have a hard time to grow this brand if you don't have a 360 approach. And what I mean by that is not just looking at the traffic and the paid ads, right? But looking at what are you actually advertising on these ads? Do they have a compelling, irresistible offer that's gonna get a prospect to pick this offer over their competitor, right? So oftentimes, if the client that we signed doesn't have an irresistible offer for a cold audience, we actually create that with them, right? And a few components of a winning offer for an e-commerce client has a bunch of criteria to it. But one of the main ones is, does it have a high average order value, or is it an impulsive offer? So a good way of increasing the average order value could be to bundle products, right? Products that obviously make sense to bundle together, right? That solves a big problem for the customer so that the perceived value increases, but also the average order value increases so that it's easier to get a higher ROAS on cold traffic. So that's a bit about the offer. Then we look at the funnel, right? Do they have a high converting funnel? Do they have any sort of strategy to sell this product? Maybe a high value content offer funnel, right? Where they give them something of value, whether it's an advertorial looking landing page, whether it's a free guide, whether it's a video sales letter, right? Do they have that? Do they have a high converting product page, right? Or do we have to tweak a few things? Can we tell a compelling story about the brand, maybe the founder, the product, on the ad copy? Do we have high converting creatives, or can we teach them how to create this high converting creatives, right? So all these components are incredibly important when it comes to getting results for an ecom client. And really, if you know how all these components work together, there really is no client that is a bad client unless they have terrible profit margins, right? Unless they have a terrible product, which is not usually the case, right? But if they do have terrible profit margins, maybe lower than 40%, right? Because you'd have to get them a crazy ROAS on Facebook ads to even be profitable. And if they have a terrible product, then it's probably not the right fit, right? But what I found is usually people are lazy, right? And they use certain things as excuses for not being able to get results for ecom clients. What is the best outreach for Instagram? The best outreach, in my opinion, is called video intro. I made a video on my channel where I talk about this, but maybe I'll leave it up on the screen. In my opinion, that is the best outreach for Instagram. You can check out that video after this one. What's one piece of advice you'd give your 19-year-old self? It sounds pretty cliche, but I would probably say to be more present throughout the journey and enjoy the process a little bit more, right? Now, I do think that I found a lot of joy in the hardships and the challenges of the process, but probably not as much as I should have. And also I was very results driven. So even if I took a lot of joy in the process, because I was so results driven, when I did hit the result, it didn't really hit the same way that it should have, right? And so that's one of the things that I told myself it would never happen again, which is hitting a goal and not really feeling anything. And the reason why that happens is because you're so results oriented, right? And you're so external oriented, right? So you care so much about the external that it's never going to be enough, right? Because there's so many accolades and so many things that you could achieve, right? And so if you're looking for something to make you whole, if you're looking for something to fulfill you, that's never going to happen, right? It can only come internally. And it sounds very cliche, but it's true, right? So that's one of the things that I would probably tell my younger self. It was a younger self that meditated a lot more than I do now, but ironically, I was way less whole internally. I was way less fulfilled internally. So that's that. I'm thinking to send out video audits from today. Do you think it's a good idea? Executing is always a better idea than not doing anything, right? The problem that I have with just sending out a bunch of video audits is the fact that the way we do it, and by that I mean my mentees and myself, is the fact that more often than not, we get them to ask for a video audit and then we take action. So we only invest energy into people that have already invested energy and shown love to us, right? There is obviously a space for sending cold video audits to certain prospects, right? Usually, dream prospects, but you can find yourself sending out hundreds and hundreds of video audits and having very few views on those video audits, which is, I think, the outcome that a lot of people get from video audits. And that's because the strategy, not the actual execution. Maybe the video audit could be better or worse, right? But the strategy behind sending those video audits is not quite well thought out. But do I think it's saturated? No. The next question is, have you gone ahead and smash the like button on this video? In all seriousness, if you guys are finding value in this video and you haven't done so already, make sure that gray, ugly looking like button turns blue. With that being said, let's go right into this question. When did you start your e-commerce brand? So I'll be talking more in depth about my e-com brand journey and all that stuff. In fact, you will get a bunch of episodes coming on my channel about the whole process, where I'm going to be documenting pretty much as I can. But I haven't really revealed this, but I do have 2 e-com brands. So one of those e-com brands I have majority ownership in, and the other one is my e-com brand, right? So when did the second one start? It's been close to a year now, which is crazy to think, from the conceiving of the idea, finding the right partners, the manufacturing, and all that stuff. So yeah, it's been quite a journey, and I'm excited to launch it to you guys, reveal the whole process, and really show you so the byproducts, the fruits of the labor. And also because I believe in the product so much, I think it's going to be a product that's going to help a lot of you. It's a product that has helped me tremendously and that I use every single day. So that's a bit about my e-com brand. If you were to start your agency from scratch, how would you go about it? I would go ahead and I would go into the e-com space. I would pick a sub niche. I would create an irresistible offer for a specific service. Depending on the sub niche and the size of that sub niche, I would decide on more of a traditional service like Facebook or Google Ads, or more of a newer platform like TikTok ads, Snapchat ads, where you can also have that edge when it comes to your service. Then I would make sure that I put a lot of time into hiring that A player. So I would have that A player on my side. And then I would make sure that I have a very, very, very good process to results that I can not only use to get incredible results for my e-com clients, but that I can also use in my sales. So it's going to give me a lot of confidence on the sales goals. It's going to help me craft the plan of attack for prospects. And it's going to help me sell the service a lot better. How many clients you serving right now? Right now, we've got 7 clients. Actually, last month, we parted way with 3 clients. A bunch of them decided to take it in-house. Another one, we just mutually decided to part ways simply because I wanted to do things a bit different. I wanted to scale a bit faster, and they were a bit more traditional. And they had quite a bit of vetting and quite a bit of structure. And it wasn't a project that really excited me anymore. We've done our job. And so right now, we've got 7 clients. Thoughts on e-com agencies market getting saturated? That's just not the case. One of the things that I preach a lot is the fact that you need to build a monopoly agency. And what that means is you don't want to start an e-com agency. And what I mean by that is you want to start in the e-com space, but you want to make sure that you pick a sub niche within the e-com space, right? And as long as you do that, there's plenty of differentiation, especially if you then go ahead and you create an irresistible offer for your service, right? As long as you do that and you make sure you build a monopoly agency, which I've talked about on my channel, you're not going to have any problem, right? The problem comes when you decide to start a Facebook ads, Google ads agency in the e-com space. Then yes, Nicolo, get in the queue, right? Because there are hundreds of people just like you, right? You could maybe get results if you spend 8 to 10 hours banging out hundreds and hundreds of cold emails for months on end. You could maybe sign a client, but that's not the type of results that I personally would look for, right? And it's always funny to me when people say, yeah, but I've signed a client. Cool, but it's not so much about the output. It's not so much about the result, right? What is the input that you've had to put in to create that result, right? If someone comes to me and tells me like, I spent the whole year banging out hundreds of cold emails, right? And I signed a client. So technically I got a result. Yes, but what is the opportunity cost of not doing things properly, right? So that's a little side tangent. Are local businesses worth it? It's not like they're not worth it, right? Can you make money with it? Sure. Now, if you give me a choice between e-commerce and local business, obviously I'm going to pick e-commerce, and I could give you 1,000 different reasons. I've already spoken about it on my on many videos on my YouTube channel, but is it worth it? If you've got a choice, which you seem to have, it wouldn't be my first choice. Let's just put it that way. How did you stop going to university with your parents, friends, and society judging you? So I spoke about this on an episode of my podcast, The Art of E-commerce, with my man Tony. It's actually on the second channel, so if you guys haven't watched it, here's something, right? But how did you stop going to university? I mean, I just I made up my mind, so it wasn't something that was overnight, right? It was something that I'd been thinking about. It was something that I was also scared of doing, absolutely, right? But I was, sort of confident in doing because I had a track record of being able to put in the work. I had a track record of also getting results with my agency. And so I was more comfortable doing and taking that decision. Was it a hard decision? Absolutely yes, right? Was it a decision that people judge me on? 100% yes, right? But one of the things that I always say is you have to be ready to face the backlash if you're going to make one of those bold decisions, right? So if you expect to take a bold decision, right, and then you're salty because your parents or your friends judge you, right? I just don't think that those two go together, right? You have to be ready to face the backlash. And so when I got the backlash, I was like, this is normal, right? I'll just block out the noise. I'll focus on my shit, and the results will speak louder than any words can speak right now. So that was my approach. When and how much was your first income from SMMA? By the way, thank you for your content, of course. My first income was $1,000, and I actually have a video of me closing that sale on my channel. Probably most of you haven't watched it, but this is the video. And it was $1,000. Then it went up to I think like $2,000 after 3 months. Kept that client for around 7 months, so not too bad. For me, that first client was always just, and I always say this, right? The first client is not going to be your best client. It's not going to be your biggest client. Do not chase the biggest bag as your first client, because that's probably not going to happen, right? The first client is to start building that momentum, to give you the confidence and to really propel you forward. So that was my first client. Smoked weed or anything like that, drugs. So I have tried it in the past, but no, I don't smoke. I don't do any drugs. I barely actually even drink, especially nowadays. Maybe a year and a half ago, I used to love to go out partying with my friends. I didn't do it too much because I was working on my businesses, but when I did go out, I would drink and all this stuff, right? But nowadays, I just don't see why I'd put my body through those toxics. It just doesn't really make sense to me. It doesn't really make me have more fun. The next day I'm not feeling great, and so I don't do any of that stuff anymore. I do love wine, so if I go out to eat, I'll have a glass of wine, maybe 2, right? But that's my take on all that stuff. Will SMMA work in 2022? So I may not know what my goals are for 2022, but I do know SMMA will still be around. SMMA will still work. Now, what branch of SMMA will be more beneficial, more profitable? I think e-commerce is obviously on a upward spiral, right? Whereas local businesses is trending downwards, and so that's why I'm also a bigger fan of e-commerce. But will it still work? Yes, because it's a service-based business at the end of the day, and businesses are always going to need marketing. Is English communication required for starting a social media marketing agency? No, I've got students who decide to just stay in Italy, right? Because that's the language that they master, or Spain or France, right? And they stay within those countries and they speak their language, okay? And so you don't have to go to English-speaking countries to be successful with SMMA. Failures that taught you the most. I mean, failure is obviously part of the journey. Even just a few weeks ago, for example, I launched the Ecom brand, the ones that I'm telling you guys about. I launched the Ecom brand to a cold audience, and the messaging didn't really work. A bunch of the ads seemed to work really well, but overall the messaging didn't work as well as we'd expected, right? So we paused all the ads, probably lost like $1,000 on the test, and I had to rethink the whole launch strategy, right? And so that was quite a few weeks of work, pretty much gone to waste. But then again, every single failure is a big lesson, right? So if anything, that made me stronger. That made me a stronger advertiser, a stronger ecom growth hacker, whatever you want to call it, right? One of the major failures in my SMMA journey would probably be, I don't really understand the concept of failure. That's why this question is a bit hard for me, but probably starting with a partner. I started with a business partner. I started my agency with a business partner. Didn't really work out, and I felt like I wasted a bunch of time. But then again, it's a lesson. I also started with local businesses. I got a bunch of results, but then again, it wasn't ideal. But then that led me into the Ecom agency model, and that changed my life. And so I just see failure as lessons, and they make me better. They help me grow into the type of person that I want to become. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Next question. Thank you for sharing your journey with us. Of course, question, do you coach people from third world countries? Yes, I do. And they get incredible results. I will leave a bunch of maybe screenshots on the screen. But yeah, I do. And this notion that people from India cannot get results or that it's harder for them, it's not reality. And when you look at the facts and the results that, for example, my mentees from India get, that's just not the case, right? And so when someone is given the right information, the right roadmap, and they have the work ethic, they're willing to put in the work, obviously, of course they can get results. And that is why I coach people from third world countries. All right, I think those are enough questions for this video. Now, I will have an extended version of this video on the second channel, School of Ecom by Jaime Higuera. If you guys don't know, I started a second channel where we're posting content every single day. So if you haven't checked that out, you're definitely missing out. And there's going to be an extended version of this Q&A with a bunch more questions in there. And with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe. And if you want to see more content that I'm not posting anywhere else, make sure to apply to my free Facebook community. The link is in the description. And with that being said, I hope everything is going well in your journey, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.